everyone, in this video I'm going to do a review, well not so much a review, but more just kind of a here's my experience review of the Canon 16 to 35mm f2.8 professional lens Mark II as well, so it's a newer one. Again, as you know me, I like stuff which is second hand, so this was a second hand lens but it's on a new body. Well, it's the Nikon D... no. It's not. It's the Canon 5D Mark II, newly bought just recently. So, new body, but second-hand lens. And I was wondering, is there any dangers of buying a second-hand lens? None whatsoever. So anyway, today I went for a walk with this lens and this camera, and I went around a place called Threepmuir and Harlaw, which is a place that's just outside Edinburgh, for a nice little walk. And we're going to have a little look at the photos on my computer now. So, here's just kind of an idea of what we think and how good this lens and this camera are together. So here we've got the photos. I'm viewing them on Adobe Lightroom 3 and I've done a little bit of editing to the shots just to get, because I've shot them all in RAW, and obviously when they're in RAW they're usually low contrast and not quite as interesting as they are when they come out in JPEG, but you have much more ability to edit them afterwards. So these are edited, these are not straight out of the camera. And straight away, this shot here, as we can see up the top corner, it's an 80th of a second f5 and at ISO 200 with the lens, and this is just very good. I love the sharpness. I think I've obviously added a good bit of sharpness there, but even at f5 the depth of field that you've got is just huge. Pretty much everything's in focus, and I was very happy with this shot. This is just the first shot I took as I got out of the car. Thought I had nice kind of leading lines, kind of interesting colours, nice light, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, what came out of the camera I was very happy with. Up in the very top corners you can see it gets soft right in the very corner, but that is right in the very corner. So like the main subject in the centre, that's where it's really of importance, and it's done a very good job there. Now, with this camera, it comes with 4 exposure options. You've got your centre spot, your centre weighted, your spot meter, your evaluative, and then there's some kind of average one as well, which I haven't really figured out why you would ever use that when you've got the other ones. You only ever really need 3, which is the spot metering, the spot weighted, so it uses all the details in the spot right in the centre and then takes in a bit of the outside, and then evaluative, which means it takes everything. The extra one where it's the average thing, I don't really see the need for that. So in this shot here, it was on, I think it was on spot metering, and it was metering up for the sky. So the sky is nice and exposed. However, obviously this is a very high contrast image, and this is where an HDR photo would actually work really, really well. However, I want to see how well we could actually push the Canon sensor here. So this shot here, this is one where I've really kind of pushed the sensor to its absolute maximum, or certainly in the editing phase afterwards. So if you look at the image on the left compared to the image on the right, it's the same image, but I've just edited as much as possible on the right before it gets too bad. So straight out of the camera, if this was a JPEG, that's all that you'd get, just kind of a black thing there. But the RAW it really has captured a lot of extra detail. And in Adobe Lightroom 3, the noise, the color noise that you're getting really is taken away very successfully with Adobe. So very impressed with that, and just how much can be rescued from the images. So my advice now, in the past many people say exposed to the right, meaning overexposed, it's easier to bring it down. For me, I would say underexposed, because you can bring so much detail from the shadows. Granted, it adds a bit more noise, but it's really, once something is blown out, it's blown out. But if it's something in shadow, there's still a lot of detail kept there. And it works, and even if you put it into black and white, it just becomes a really kind of cool image. I like that a lot. I like that so much. Somebody even from Australia emailed me saying, "No way, Dom, I love that picture. This really is just a picture of nothing that's interesting in any way. It was just a little walk around a field, and I saw this kind of pen." Saturation here, I've increased the saturation and stuff, and done a bit of neutral density graduating going on, but this is in After Effects, or in the post. So on the left, so this is just all with the one image, the editing that I've done here. This isn't any HDR software being used at all. This is just me rescuing and saturating the blue sky, enhancing the greens and the luminance and the saturation, and increasing a bit of sharpness and clarity. So yeah, very impressed. Again, here's another one. This was kind of a silhouette of Kim. Let's see if we can put this in the whole shot. And so I just had the camera very low down and shooting into the sky, get a nice saturated sky, and a little bit of editing around the hill there, and the noise just disappears really well whenever you really up the exposure level in Lightroom. I would say it's definitely the Canon has really lovely ability to give great saturated colours in everything. Kim doing an awesome model pose there for our walk. It's a very cold day, and fortunately I would say that the Canon didn't give, I think it just had it on auto white balance, because it doesn't really matter when you're shooting RAW because you can change it afterwards, but the setting which it did give itself was actually fairly accurate. So this was a very cold day and the grass isn't super green, it's frozen. And it came out pretty well. So yeah, I would say the ability to edit with the Canon shots are great. Okay, so here we're really going as wide as we can, 60mm. This is at f7.1, so this is me trying to get as much in focus as possible. And as you can see right in the corner here, so it's sharp there, maybe a little bit blurry in the very corner. So the very, very edges of this lens at 60mm is blurry. But actually down here it's not bad, it's not bad at all. So yeah, optically there is a reason why this is an L series lens. It is lovely. Okay, here's a little test for you, and this is quite interesting. I put these photos up on Facebook asking if people thought one was an HDR or if one was maybe just a Lightroom edit. And here, this is the first image here, and then the second image here are two completely different softwares to make the image. This first one is actually using Photomatics, and it's an HDR photo. The next one is the Adobe Lightroom, and I'm just editing the RAW as kind of harshly as I can to make it look like an HDR photo. If you want to see what it actually looked like, the actual location, I'll show you that, the before and after. So the before on the left, it looks like you've got totally blown out skies, it looks like you've got totally dark bits of riverbed there, but with a good bit of editing you can really bring in details in the sky and the details in the kind of darker areas as well. So to give you an idea of how I did that, I think that was mostly with the brushes. You can see there's one brush up here, so that's brightened up the trees a little bit, and another one down here to brighten up that area while underexposing the sky. So with the dynamic range that the Canon is able to capture, is almost capturing a full 3 photos worth of HDR in one raw image. So very impressed with that. Very, very impressed with that. And here's another shot. Again, I've edited this in, actually I can't remember, was this? I think this one is the Lightroom and this one is the Photomatics. I've tried to make the Photomatics as realistic as possible and the Lightroom as edited as possible as well. And the Photomatics I think gives a better, well, I kind of like that HDR look that's given. This is a very subtle HDR shot that we're getting here, because this wasn't hugely high contrasty shot, but the sky was totally blown out. As you can see in this one here, I'll show you the before and after again. Yeah, so you've really got to work your images, because straight out of the camera raw, you've got to work your images to really bring the images to life. But that's the thing about RAW, you can do that. If you shoot it with JPEG, once you've got it, you can't really change it. And all this detail up in the sky, you would never, oh, well, I say detail, but blue is all I'm really looking for. You would have lost that straight away. Again, this was with 3 frames of HDR. Now, the speed that the Canon can go at to get HDR is this speed. I'll show you this. So this is as fast as the Canon can go. Okay, so that's not bad, that's not bad. And you can, on a very wide angle lens like this, you can certainly hold it for those 3 shots with no problem whatsoever. Another challenge here, okay, guess which one was taken with 3 exposures blended together and which one was just an edited RAW? What you'll find is the one on the right is the edited RAW, as in this one over here, and the one on the left is the 3 exposures, so 3 raw images edited together in Photomatics. I'll do a video soon where I show you the settings which I've used to give it that kind of look. With the 3 photos, you can definitely see it kind of sucks whenever there is like movement in stuff like the trees. It just becomes super blur up there. However, the main subject around here isn't too bad. Not too, like, as a photo like that, I would say that that's good enough. However, if you then go to the single image raw, you can see it's a little bit better up here, and the actual image around here is a lot sharper around here. Again, I was just shooting handheld, so having a tripod would certainly help this. However, it is the time variable which is the issue a lot of the time, and also the vibration of the shutter going up and down that will add extra blur to your HDR shot, so just be careful with that. So again, HDR shot here, and then here is the raw edited photo to show you what it started off with. It was that. So I'm saying underexpose your image, expose for the sky, expose for the bright lovely sky, and then rescue the shadows, because that's what you can do with these cameras now. However, what I would say is that even if you have done an HDR photo, you should still edit it afterwards. So this is actually the edited version of the HDR. So how Photomatics brought it out as best as it could, it was like this. So a little bit darker, but again, I can just rescue more of that. Best to save it as a 16-bit TIFF. You've got more ability, because you can't save it as a RAW again, but you can save it as a 16-bit TIFF. That's better than saving as an 8-bit JPEG. So yeah, they're looking a good bit better, but however, the actual single image, you can almost get HDR shots just from one RAW. So well done Canon. And here's another one. Sometimes you just want to add a little bit more contrast, give a little bit more punch to the image, a little bit enhance the brightness in total. So here on the right is the edited HDR RAW shot. So well done Lightroom as well. Closeness that you can get with this lens, the 1635, I found it to be quite very good actually. It says it's 0.28, so 28 centimeters. However, that's 28 centimeters from the back of the camera, so when you get to the front of it, it's really only about there. So it's very close to the front of the lens that you can get. It also works very well if you want to do like 360-degree panoramas. Here, this is I was just shooting along. You can see Kim over in the corner over here. There, and then I've just done a like panning round to get a shot like that. And it's a very good lens. In fact, I think that was at 35mm, and then that one is at a wider angle there as well. But yeah, works great. Here, another HDR shot and another HDR shot. So, I went out, it was a high contrast day, it was the setting sun, you've got harsh shadows. It's a difficult one for the camera sensor to really get it. However, let's see how well I can edit one of those shots. So if that's the photo that we've got there, the single RAW I would want to use is probably this one. I'll show you. If I want to cool it down because it was a cold and frosty day. Exposure I want to bring down so we can bring in more of the sky. And then with the brush I'm going to bring up the brightness, bring up the clarity, get this, and I'll paint over the building. Okay, that's about as far as I'm going to get with this image just now. If we have a look at that again, was before and after. Before on the left, after on the right. So it is kind of an HDR shot there. You've got all the extra detail in the shadows of the building. You've got more colour and saturation in the sky. And yeah, you're just seeing all the shadows, kind of detail coming through there. However, Photomatics RAW, or Photomatics shot, I like that a bit more. Again, with the Photomatics one, I edited that again, so I took out some of the blue that was on the roof, and I also calmed down the saturation of the red with the Photomatics, because again that one usually adds a lot of saturation. I like the gritty feeling of that. Is the micro contrast that it adds, I think looks good. So I'd like to be able to add micro contrast to this one, but don't have the ability to do that in this editing software. Okay, so yeah, so there you go. That was just my kind of experience with this Canon 5D Mark II and the 16 to 35mm lens. Very impressed with it. I think it's great. Well worth its money. Better than the 17 to 40. It feels it anyway. The weight to it, the smoothness of it, and the size of it, I like a lot. However, this 82mm bit at the front, that is killing me just now. I need to find some filters and lenses that can go on it which aren't going to break the bank. So there you go, that's the review. I hope that helps. Cheers, bye bye.